Hello, my name is Eva Woode. I'm the director of Studio Woode. We are curators focused on sustainability and well-being in the built environment. We have curated the exhibition Sea Change, Flood Resilient Architecture for the 21st Century. The exhibition is on show at the Rocker London Gallery. The exhibition explores work by architects who are leading the way in making our cities better equipped for a future with more severe weather events, with rising sea levels and with more flooding, often looking beyond floodgates and sea walls and barriers, and exploring how nature can be used as a tool for resilience. Today I'm joined by Ya-Hsin Chen and Michiel van Driessche, and we're going to talk about two projects that are on show in the exhibition. So first I'll just introduce Ya-Hsin. Ya-Hsin has worked on varying scales, from master planning, urban regeneration to waterfront developments. She studied at Tamkang University in Taiwan and also at the Technical University in Delft, and worked as an urban designer at KCAP 3 Ontwerp Bureau, and also as an architect at Foster & Partners here in London. As associate partner of KCAP, you're leading the KCAP team in Shanghai, managing projects throughout Asia for the firm. And Michiel van Driessche is a landscape architect, founder and partner of Felixx Landscape Architects and Planners. He studied at the University College of Ghent and also the Amsterdam Academy of Architecture, and focusing on environmental challenges and specialized in strategic planning. So the two projects that we are going to talk about one is by KCAP together with Astok in its HafenCity in Hamburg. So we'll start with this one. So KCAP, this is a project to redevelop a former port area in Hamburg, creating a new city district, as far as I've understood, and keep the closeness to water, although it's not used as a port at all anymore, but keep the closeness to water. And it's positioned just on the flood zone, as far as I've understood, the flood zone of the Elbe River. So there were some challenges there. Could you, Ya-Hsin, could you tell us briefly about the project and the approach?
Yeah, thank you, Eva. Yeah, as you introduced, HafenCity used to be a port area. But now, after it opened to the city, to the world, it has certain questions to be answered as a planner. KCAP, in cooperation with Astok, we play a role, not only a master planner, but also supervisor, to give a constant advice to our client, which is also worth to mention, HafenCity Hamburg, which also play an important role on leading the project for past 20 years. So 20 years ago, while KCAP are selected, we enter the competition and being selected as a master planner. The first question is how the designer or the planner can provide a new vision for old industrial area when open to the water, also to the public. What we do, I think that's very essential for the project, is instead of a blueprint master plan, we introduce a set of framework for quality, because only the quality framework can confirm what to be in and what to go, and also prioritize the important qualities and values for the new world to come, while still keep the old qualities for the city, because it's the important diversity and identity for the project, not to mention the water, which I think we will ask more question about it.
Yeah, yes, and when we look at your approach to flood defense within HafenCity, we found it really interesting that it's to some extent, you've decentralized. So it's not just one central way of protecting the area against the water, but you've worked with a number of methods. And also, the really interesting thing, I think, is that you allow, in the event of a flood, some of the water will be allowed into the area, and you've planned for it to flood to some extent. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so there are a few keywords. It's about the city and water, of course. It's also about the new and old, the new interventions, new innovative strategies. So immediately when we're facing the master plan, first question is an innovative concept for the resilient city planning is very necessary, because how we deal with flood, how we live and work with water, this is the first question to answer. So we have two choices. One is build the seawall along all the sides, which immediately very expensive and very costly and also not environmental friendly. Or as a Dutch office, we can go the other way around. We play and live with water. So we allow water to go in, but how? We have a certain setback and we move the podium level to the upper level, 3 meters higher, which allow the tall side to accommodate, let's call dry areas and wet areas. So maybe there are a few days in a year, the water will come, but no problem. We move to a higher level to still have the dry anemones in the dry level. So if you've been to the site, you will see a lot of public space. You can call it dry or wet, but they are composed by different squares, passages, or the plazas with the stepping grounds. So it attracts thousands of people to come to visit. It's kind of infrastructure. It's kind of a landscape combining with public space design towards the urban design. So it's a lot to show and to prove that it is possible to live with water.
And in terms of, I've understood that there are some buildings where the responsibility is almost on the people living in the building, or there's perhaps one designated person who is responsible for securing the building when in the event of a flood. This is quite an unusual and very decentralized approach. How was this received from the client and the people living there now?
Yes, I think you are talking about some instruments. We place a spatial instruction to have the wall, the sitting door to be closed 2 or 1 day before the flood coming. So once the flood in, the door is closed and the people can move to the upper level. So the program on the podium level, let's call a weight level, can be closed and sealed. And so we have a kind of a cafe or a restaurant. So no one lives on the level of the weight level, but when water comes, everyone move up. So after, for example, 12 hours over 14 hours, when the flood send away, the door can be open again and people can enjoy the place.
Yeah. And if we move on to the other projects, but keep hold of this idea of allowing water perhaps and living with water. So the second project that we're showing in the exhibition is called East Dike, Shenzhen, and it's a master plan restoring the coastline and also protecting against future extreme weather events. And it came about following a typhoon in 2018. And do you want to, perhaps one of you could, well, I should first say that KCAP and Felixx are both involved on this project. So one of you, would you like to tell me a little bit about the background and how it came about, the competition following the typhoon?
Yes, I will give a general introduction of our involvement. And I think Michiel, as a landscape architect, he can share with us more about design, especially about triple dike. Can we do that?
Sure.
Yeah. About the involvement, KCAP is a master planner for the project from strategic level to urban design. And in terms of a working scope, we work from conceptual design to schematic design and detailed design together. I mean, KCAP and Felixx. And as KCAP also work with office from Rotterdam and Shanghai, which allowed I am also carrying out the role as a project manager on site in order to work closely with our clients and local cooperators who are in charge of the construction on site for landscape and water engineering. And Felixx will be the team focused on landscape detailed design from SD, DD, and to also supervise the construction drawing. And here I will briefly introduce about the site. The site is a beautiful mountainous peninsula called Dapeng. And Dapeng in Chinese, I can simplify the Dapeng is a big bird with big wing. Why we call this peninsula as Dapeng, you can imagine it's a beautiful site combined with a lot of forest, river bank, and creeks. So also with a lot of fish villages with beaches. So it's a hidden paradise for hikers, and also for the Shenzhen people, it's a great place for weekends. And the project of the East Dike includes 6 different sections of the shoreline, including 18 kilometers, and involve 6 villages. And as you said, in 2018, the typhoon damaged the coastline to various degrees. The original seawall was destroyed. The roads was disconnected, and the life of the villagers is in danger. So that's why we got this opportunity, a very nice invitation from our client, Water Bureau. They host a competition in 2019, where we got the opportunity to team up with Felixx. So we joined this competition, and we are selected among 3 competitors. And we are allowed to introduce our triple dike strategy, which not only raise the protection standard, but also restore the coastline. So I will have Michiel to introduce us more what's the triple dike ideas about in depth.
I think I think indeed after the typhoon hit the coastline of Dapeng, and the coastline was destroyed. And the way we looked at the competition is in a very integrated way. I think that's indeed the value of, or at least the experience of the Dutch culture with dealing with water. I think in the office, I mean, we are urban planners. I mean, in the team, we are urban planners, landscape architects. We also have hydrologists, ecologists, and technicians on board. So we actually managed to come up with design solutions that are both integrating environmental strategies and able to realize them in the end. And the main concept of how we approached this task to redesign the coast of Dapeng is that we do not want to build or rebuild this coastal protection as a single line, as a linear structure, as a wall, which kind of closes off the island from the dynamics of the coast. But instead of doing that, we kind of designed this coastal protection as a zone, not as a structure. And that zone consists of actually 3 partial zones. So a coastal zone, which is slowing down the waves. It's a dynamic and a diverse designed dike structure in the middle. And then you have an inland dike, which is actually responding to the various conditions that we are facing on Dapeng. So sometimes it's forests, sometimes it's small villages, sometimes it's recreational facilities. So by doing that, so we have a triple dike zone that is able to transform along the coast depending on the very specific local conditions. So also the dike changes, but also the dike is able to boost also different type of developments in the sea, on the seaside, but also inland, so that there are new economical recreational developments possible in the villages, but also that there is a stronger ecological connection to the coast and to the sea, for example. And I think that's the main driver of the concept.
And I see some parallels here to the HafenCity project too, that there's not one silver bullet, if you like. There's not one solution, like you were saying. It's a combination of the triple, the three dikes. I've been wondering, in terms of perceived safety, so what have residents or your clients said about, you mentioned that there was a seawall there before, that was destroyed. So how safe do people feel when there isn't a seawall, but when instead there are a number of elements working together and this zone rather than this structure? Have you had any discussions about feeling safe?
Well, I think we can both reply on that. Yeah, of course we had, and I think also a big part of it's not only about the feeling of the people who are living there. I think also a big task still to do is these nature-based solutions. There are also juridical safety standards that have to be kind of realized, and that's even difficult with nature-based solutions to prove that these interventions that are able to kind of offer the same protection as a wall. So that's even apart from the people who are living there. It's also already a challenge to convince all the different institutions that these things work. But I think as far as for now, we managed to do that. And maybe for the people who are living there, maybe Ya-Hsin can explain that a little bit more, if there were really kind of hot discussions about this.
Yeah, I think the typhoon actually gives us a push for this innovation because it proves the single seawall doesn't work. That's why there's urgency to give a new solution and at the same time bring the new qualities. So this, of course, there will be always a discussion about a wall. Yeah, wall or no wall. But at the end, I think because we are from Netherlands, and Netherlands is basically a country built with dike and live with within water. So I guess there's nothing wrong with the wall, but it's more about how it's being integrated as part of the innovative system of the whole. So, and also how this intervention responds to other needs and add values. So I think that's we together as a planner, as a designer, and also as a client. Actually, client's role is also very important because firstly, they have to pick us, congratulations, and they have to trust. And they also have to make some innovation from their management point of view. For example, the certain policy actually in many ways are conflict with our proposal, like a water bureau, ocean bureau, for example, our triple dike, the outer dike actually across to the blue line, so-called, because then we cannot touch the ocean. So we, in the process, actually bring even more challenges for ourselves, also to the clients, because we no longer working with one single client, but we have to involve even greater public to ask them to accommodate our ideas into their field. So I would say the innovation is requires from both sides, from design, also to management. And only by doing this together, the value will be recognized and implemented.
Maybe in addition to that, I think it's not, I mean, of course, I think the wall, it kind of is a very physical element to kind of to show the safety. I mean, that you're protected. I think that in the design that we did for the dike, you can see that there are a lot of things are happening, let's say, to kind of increase the distance between the water and the land, to have elements that are kind of blocking in certain areas the waves. And I think that we also try to bring that back in the very design of the materialization of the dike as well. So you have sometimes walls that are shifting, and then in the materialization of the pavement in the front of these walls, that's very robust. That's very big tiles, very kind of big structures, rocks. While behind the walls, you have very tactile, small little pavers, so that you also feel in the materialization that you are in a different area. Basically, you're protected against the waves. So it's not that we kind of completely ignored the fact that there is a protection against what can happen in the seaside, but we played with that feeling, and also we kind of recognize that people need that feeling and need to feel that difference, let's say, when you're exposed and in potential danger, and when you're safe anyway.
Yeah, and I was looking at the images. There's a demonstration area that you have now finished, and I think the images of the demonstration area show really what you're talking about, with some walls being people being able to sit on them or use them as recreation areas, and also the softer areas.
Exactly.
And also when we researched for the exhibition, we came across an article in The Guardian where they had interviewed a man in a village in Japan a couple of years after the tsunami. And in this village, they had built a very high seawall. And he was saying that we feel that we live in a prison now. We've been living in close connection to the sea for many centuries, forever. And now we don't anymore. So I guess if these villages, I assume some are fishing villages, or they're used to living close to the water. And also you said earlier that people come to the beach for recreation. So I assume that the connection to water was very important to restore in a way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, living close to the water in this village, I mean, it has always been a quality to be close to the water. And I think the fact that we are facing environmental changes, that the sea level is rising, I mean, that should mean that we cannot be closely connected to the water anymore. And I think that's a very important lesson. And I think also something that we really want to kind of share is that with the current tasks that we are facing for seaside protection, we should not make this prisons, let's say, where we kind of make a clear boundary between the land and the sea. I mean, we should still insist on this very valuable connection. The only thing is we need to design it differently, because sometimes the sea can be dangerous, and maybe even more dangerous than it is at the moment. And we need to be prepared for that. But please, let's try to find still this super valuable connection.
Yeah, and to me it sounds also like a softer approach, so that this kind of blue-green idea of there isn't a hard boundary between where we are and where the sea begins, but there's a softer boundary. So I mentioned that the demonstration area is now finished, and the rest of the project is under construction. Just lastly, before we end, what's next, and can you tell us a little bit about the future of the project?
Yes, I think the first demonstration area of Ya-Hsin, we call the Ya-Hsin Sea Boulevard, is actually a 500-meter long length next to the sea. So very beautiful, close to the water, but it's still very safe because we divide the boulevard into different stairs, heights. Next will be different sections, which also have a different quality. And I'd like to also mention that actually in the beginning stage of the project, we work with Deltalis, who did the simulation for us to prove and help us to decide where we can apply single seawall and where we can maybe try the natural flood defense if possible. So by doing this, we make sure we are safe, and we also are able to play different defense systems to make sure it could be functional and could be also beautiful. So for example, Dongshan, that's the next one, we combine the dike design into the green part. So this kind of a design will allow people by using the public space, but still feel safe. And the other two I will also mention, like Moon Bay areas. I don't know if you read maybe one of the texts. It's the traditional fish villages. So we try to keep the original function and as much as local identity, while we clean the outside dike to also introduce our triple dike ideas in different degrees. So this 3 sections will be ongoing, and we aim to finish these 3 in 1.5 years. And also just to share the news, just take it as a progress. We are also applying different awards, for example, the ASLA award and also ULI awards sometime in March. And we really hope all this innovation idea and tryouts will be also recognized by a greater public.
Thank you so much, Ya-Hsin, and thank you so much, Michiel, for joining.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Eva, for organizing the talk. We are very happy to share our work with everyone.